Let's start it right up. We have storms here, Kirk. I think they passed your way, but now they're here. It suddenly got really dark, and you never know. You never know if the internet's going to work during these things.
Well, that's an everyday occurrence at my house if the internet
That's
is
true.
going to work or not. So, welcome to my life. Yeah, it looks very, we had like storms roll in. I timed my workout today perfectly terrible, which means I was in the wind and rain on the track for the entirety of it. And I saw it heading your way. So, you're just getting it now.
Yeah.
Good. Get out there.
Yeah.
Isn't it your favorite to go frolic in the rain and the muddy
Love it.
slop?
Love it. And today was nasty. It's not that hot. It's like 85, but like a billion% humidity and just it's just soup outside. And I know the Southerners are rolling their eyes, and that's fine. What I discovered, Kirk, when we went over to Saudi Arabia is that hot is hot. Once you're hot and uncomfortable, doesn't matter what the temperature is. It all sucks.
It's more like once the heart rate gets up, it just will stay there no matter
Yeah.
what the temperature is. If it's hot, it's just the way it's going to go down. I laid a huge egg on my last quality long run of my build this weekend,
Good.
and I found it right, and I found out about hot on Saturday. So I'm feeling you right now.
I sometimes think in a long race, best case scenario is your last workout or two punches you in the mouth and scares you.
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm scared shitless right now.
Yeah. Because what are you not going to do on race day?
Tip early, brother.
You're not going to tip early because you don't have this crazy self-confidence that you're ready to do something like 10% faster than you should think you're ready for right now.
Dude, I've been thinking the exact same thing since that session.
Yeah.
I hit a 22-mile long run. I purposely waited till about 10 a.m. It was getting warmer, like 80-ish. And I was like, well, grandma's starts at 9 a.m. often. And sometimes heat is an actual factor. It really is. It's been a known factor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'll go out and give it a rip. It's not that hot. Fatigue coupled with like overreaching phase coupled with heat. It was I haven't laid an egg that bad, Brakken, since my half build in a workout last year about
Oh,
this time. So,
is
so
that the one
anyways,
where you were going to do miles and made it 8s, then you're going to cut it to 8s, so you cut it down to 4s?
I was going to do 2 by 3 miles, then quarters, and I cut it to 3 mile quarters. I cut half the workout, but
I was kind of paying attention.
it scared me enough to be like, all right, you can't do that in 3
No.
weeks. So
Nope.
reality check served, Mother Nature and body. So thank you. So why
And it
don't you get out
doesn't.
and run in this heat then? Get your heat acclimation up.
Well, I ran threshold yesterday, so today's recovery day.
Hmm. All right.
Anyway, it doesn't mean you also can't run 10% faster on race day. It means you have to arrive there naturally.
You can't bank time early.
Yeah.
That's all you need to say.
Yep. You may still arrive to a point where you're staring an awesome race right in the face, but it won't be because you hit the throttle in mile 2.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got like sodium tabs coming in and different fueling options. And now I'm like, I need to carry water if it's hot versus relying. So I have like 2 different belts and a handheld coming. I spent like $250 on Amazon just because I'm like, I need options now, because if we get that sort of day,
Yeah.
I need to have some choices. So yeah, my tail's between my legs. So that's good and proper before a marathon.
Yeah. In an ultra, you want to feel like worried that you might not be in shape. Like, I think I rested a little too much. I'm
Yep.
super fit, but I feel really good. I might have gained weight this week. In a 5K mile, you want to think, I think I'm ready to rip skulls straight off of people's spinal cords. And in a marathon, you want to think, I think I've got it all wrong. I think I'm not anywhere near as fast as I should be.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that way until recently, but that just justifies the
No, you should
taper.
feel confidence all the way to the end.
Yeah, it justifies the taper, which is actually kind of an glass half
Yep.
full blessing in disguise. All right, but this actually, I do you have life stuff you want to get people caught up on, or do we want to just get to
Oh,
business?
right to business.
Because you had a great idea for a series, and I think you should. And we're going to kick it off today. I think you should introduce thine to it.
Well, all our best content, in our opinion, stems from what's important to us. And right now, you're staring down the barrel of a race, And most of the athletes we're working with are racing. It's race season. It's officially upon us. Almost no matter where you live, it's race season right now. So we're going to do a mini series just about racing topics.
Care to elaborate any more than that?
Oh, it's not Training Tuesday, it's Racing Tuesday now. So breaking down, not always minutia, but a little bit more winding paths around figuring out how to optimize racing. That's not just like, hey, peg your threshold here and hold it the whole time. Yeah, you can. That's great. Everyone knows about that. We're going to talk about some of the things that through high school, in college, in post-collegiate racing and coaching, we have come to believe in are ways to race well or avoid screwing up races.
Which is what we decided to talk about today.
Yeah, that's the most fun thing to talk about is the bad things you can do on race day. How to screw up your race through the best of intentions.
Or how, well, I mean, really, we should, I don't think we should be teaching people how to screw up their race. I think we should be teaching them how to not. Do you have a preference there?
Bit of both.
A bit of both. You'll learn both sides of that coin. So what brought this to mind for you? Why, you came to me today with this idea. What, any reason?
Well, I had a bunch of people race this past weekend, and I just got a call off, like right prior to this, I was on a call with the Kirchners. They raced High Rocks, New York. You're staring down your race. We had, I don't know, I'm assuming most of your athlete calls right now are about prepping for or recapping a race that just occurred. Most of the blocks you're writing are bridge blocks between races, recovering from a race, or putting the final sharpening pieces on a race. Everyone's racing. Just seems top of mind.
It's true. Unless you're in the deep, deep south of like Florida, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, this is like their off racing season.
Right.
You have a handful of those where it's like racing season starts again in like October and runs through April. It's really interesting. Okay, so then the topic today is how not to screw up your race. Let's term it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it obviously the finishing, the final potential, I don't know, knife or dagger or twist of it could be on race day itself, but I think the lead in will be important as well to chat about how not to mess it up. Why don't you start us with a starting point that makes sense in your brain?
I think that we should rehash a point we've made a million times.
Okay.
But just as a reminder, because this is the quickest way to screw your race up, is to not even arrive at your race with the opportunity to do well. And so the quickest way to screw up your race is to try to do too much cramming at the last minute to be prepared for the race. And it seems self-evident and very obvious, but it doesn't change the fact that our brains are not to be trusted when you get within 2 weeks of race day, because they will start telling you that logically I must do this at least once or two more times and maybe very hard so that I'm ready for the feeling of race day.
Yes. Especially the 2 weeks race window. There's some subjectivity between 2 and 3 weeks out, I think, depending on what race you're getting ready for. But the idea is to cram and race the race or feel the race before the race even happens.
Yeah.
Because you just got to know, or you think you can cram something in last minute. And science tells us what, Brakken, it tells us we can keep physiological gains for up to 3 weeks, 21 days without any decrease in performance. And oftentimes the recovery cycle from any type of session can be a week and a half to 2 weeks before it's recovered, adapted, and now you're ready to access it. So because you have a 5K coming up and then needing to rip mile repeats a week out to prove that you can do it and sit in it is a good way to show up flat on race day. And that's generally what happens when people try to cram it in, is they go to press when it comes time in the race and there's nothing there. Like, where is it? Well, you left your race and your workouts within the last 10 days of the race itself, and you blew the whole thing up before it had a chance to start.
Yeah. We did an episode a while back where I made this point, but I'm going to double down on this point.
Okay.
Your final 7 to 14 days is not the time to feel how the race finish is going to feel. It's only time to feel how the start will feel. If you have time to improve anything, it's skill and efficiency, or it's just mindset. But the mindset or efficiency of dealing with the end of a race requires real work and damage to get to the point where I'm fatigued and hurting enough that this is how it's going to feel on the last lap. Or this is how it's going to feel in the second half of a high rocks, or this is how the last 10 miles of an ultra will feel, or the last 10K of a marathon. You don't have time to feel that anymore. You have to trust that your engine's prepared for it and that your mind is strengthened enough that you can handle it when it gets there. What you do have time to feel and recover from is how the pace is going to feel at the start of a race. That's the only thing you can really go in on in terms of, I need to know how it's going to feel. Only the start of a race.
Yeah, you within that window, well, what do you want to say? Like 10 day, 2 weeks, whatever that window.
7 to 14 days. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to be familiar with lactate over your eyeballs and still choosing to kick home
Nope.
to just feel the grit and the effort that you expect to feel 7 days later. That isn't what it's about. What do you want to do? You want to touch systems and touch speeds, paces. You like to use the word strides or stride types
Mm-hmm.
that you can click right in without extra effort the first third of the race. What will be after that will be based on how you've played your cards and your whole training build. But it's just you want the strides available. You want to touch the systems. You don't want to live in them. That's
Yeah.
really the way to look at it. I want to have access to all my gears and know they work, but I don't want to ride it in fifth until I burn, a piston or whatever the heck it works. You can burn
Yeah.
a piston, blow a piston. You get what
Sure.
I'm saying.
Burn it down. The classic case is, I've been training for something longer, and now I have this short race that's going to be highly anaerobic coming up. And I'm not ready for the burn of that. Let's say it's a 5K or a mile and I've been doing marathon work. I know I'm a little slow for this. I know I'm not used to that sting and that burn. So I've got to go feel that. And classically, people will do, let's say, I'm going to run 12 by 400 at 5K pace on shorter rest a week out so I can get used to that. And I'm saying, don't even bother. Run like 1 by mile at 5K pace and then finish off with your normal work. Like, feel how the start's going to feel. Get far enough in that you're going to understand what this feels like when it goes south a little bit, and then spend all the rest of the time just doing some light speed work to get faster, or not faster even, to just get a little more efficient at that. If you have a mile coming up, don't run 6 by 400 at mile pace. Run 1 by 600 and call it. Get a feeling for what's starting to fatigue on you, what's going wrong, and think, how could I make this a little more efficient next time? And let that be it. Just feel that first lap. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I think within, let's just say a 2 week window. You told me something a couple weeks ago, which I use a lot with athletes, is like you've entered the don't screw it up phase, which just
Mm-hmm.
means like you've already made your fitness bed by the time you're 2 weeks out from whatever race you're going to have. You've already made your bed.
Mm-hmm.
Now you are going to lie in it, meaning the hero workout stop, right? The
Mm-hmm.
I need to wedge in one extra or a few more miles or extend a long run just so I can emotionally feel like I'm ready. All that is done, especially in the 2 week window. And I run under the philosophy like my last true long run for the marathon was 3 weeks out. I'm erring on even more of the side of caution. I'm only going to go 16 this weekend and then taper to a quality session a week out. And that's going to be that. Point being is your fitness has already been made or broke within that
Yeah.
14-day window. If you want to do something to change your fitness for a race, this is where the word foresight comes in. And you say, hey, I am in a trail build and I have these longer trail races, or I'm running OCR, or I have a marathon, but I do have this 5K in route that means something to me. And I need to hit it well. Great. 3, 4, 5 weeks out, give yourself the dosing of what that is that you need. But the time isn't, it's 2 weeks away. Now's the time. No, it's
Right.
4 weeks away. Now's the time. So I think that's just like a way people look at it. And it's a little backwards.
It is. It's, again, logical to
Sure.
our brain when we are in the race window, but it's just not the time. I believe that once you're, let's call it 2 weeks out for most people who aren't world-class athletes. Once you're 2 weeks out, you have determined your ceiling in a race. You can't make your ceiling any better. All you can change is how close or far from that you're ready to do on race day. Like, how close can you get to the fitness you've established as your ceiling on race day? Well, what does getting the most out of your fitness require in the last 2 weeks? It means don't show up too tired. Don't show up way too rested. Don't show up unfamiliar with the movement you're about to do. None of that is consisted of you've got to burn and hurt so that you're mentally tough. None of that is we've got to cram more in. It's not I'm going to change my fitness. You can't much. You can't change your ceiling. All you can change is how far or close to that ceiling you're going to be.
I think we should explain that just a little bit more, because now we're like trying to scare people away from big work as races get close, and that's not that's a half truth. Meaning, yeah, you don't get within 2 weeks of race and then you just put your feet up and you're like,
Yeah.
like that's not also the case either. You want to be familiar with the feelings, but for shorter bouts of time.
Mm-hmm.
You want to maybe scale the workout. So if normally I do 45 minutes of quality within a session, maybe 2 weeks out, I'm doing 30 minutes of quality instead of 45. And it's prospectively less than what I have been doing. And it's a gradual landing of the plane into an A race that matters. You're not staying away from anything. I think the biggest mistake, if you boil it down, is people trying to spend too much time at race pace within the 2-week window. Meaning, your example, I need to feel 5K pace. Great. I'm going to do 5 by a mile at 5K pace with a bunch of rest because I need to sit in it, feel it, and suck it down. When I think that is, if you're going to boil it down, too much extended time at race pace. That's it. You can do short bouts that are faster. You can do a little bit longer bouts that are slower, but like, it's almost like you use your race pace match if you sit in it too long, and it's not like available again to you for like weeks. That's how I felt about it my entire life.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I think you need to sit in it just long enough to feel the ramification of what's coming and stop. Pull the plug right there. Again, to go back to the racing that I'm most working on right now with karting and such, the day before the race, all we're trying to do is get to the point where we're happy with how things are working, and then we stop. There have been so many times where Braden's like, I want to keep going and driving. It's like, yeah, but we haven't broke anything yet, and we have the setup to where we want it to be for this track. It's turning how we want it to turn. You felt the corners. You know how far you can take it in and still catch the track on the way out, and we haven't broke anything yet. Let's just stop now. And he's always like, yeah, I know, but I want to drive more. It's fun. And it's like, I get it. It's fun to run fast. It's fun. It's relieving to know that you've done everything possible and then more to be ready for the race. But simply knowing, I know this is going to work and I'm confident that I felt it enough, call it. And really, it's whatever you thought enough was 6 weeks ago is probably enough. As soon as you get within the 2-week window, you can't be trusted anymore. So modifying the plan to include more is your biggest sign that you're about to screw things up.
Yeah, I think the sentiment to don't leave your race in training comes right to the front the last 2 to 3 weeks before a race. Like, trust it will be there and let it play out when it's supposed to now. I think that's really the biggest sentiment there.
Yeah.
So, what about... Actually, there's one other point I want to make. It's kind of best case scenario. Let's say you're getting this right. You've had great training. You're getting it right, which I think a lot of people listening are. And they're feeling confident. I know there's a lot of uncertainty in the running world with our fitness. And so we all go in and out of periods of it. But you're feeling pretty good. You have a session that's the weekend prior and you are popping. You're like, I'm feeling it today. And you choose to allow yourself to. Do you know what happens to me after I have a great workout and I nail it? It's a bigger one and I nail it and I'm really pumped about how well it went. That pendulum hits me on the ass for days afterwards, even though I felt invincible on that day, that I come back down to earth and my body then has to recover and recalibrate. And so a lot of times, sometimes the taper or lead into a race can feel sluggish. It generally does for me until race day. Once in a while, if you are backing off appropriately, you get one where you're like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm clicking. That's when you got to be like Braden wanting it feels good. I'm having fun. I want to keep going. No, that's
Yeah.
when the self-control really needs to be demonstrated.
There was a stretch of training my last year of college where conference championships were done, and now it was all about last chance meets to try to qualify for individual events to nationals. And I was an alternate on our 4x400 meter relay, and I was trying to qualify individually in the 800 meters. And I was like 6 days out from my big push where I would have 3 opportunities over the course of 3 days to run last chance meets. It's kind of the way college track works. I was running an 800. You can run a couple back-to-back 800s if you're fit and you've been training a lot and still be fine. So I was like 6 days out, and I had been training that whole year by myself because I had to take so many night classes to try to graduate in time, on time. It was not even on time, just only a year late. And I had a buddy of mine, Devin, told me that he could run the workout with me. And so this was my first time having a workout partner in weeks, and it felt awesome. And so I had this session that got progressively harder. It was like 200, 200, 400, 400, 600, 600. And we were running 800 pace down to mile pace. And we got to the 400s, and I was like, I am popping. It's so nice having Devin here. And I decided to show him how much I had built in training by myself and just remind him, like, I'm really fit. And I
How,
pressed on the last two 600s.
how many days out from a race was this?
6, I think, 5 or
Okay.
6. And I pressed on the last two 600s, like borderline kicking, but staying under control, but pressing, running way harder than mile pace. And I got done, and he just had his eyebrows up. He said, "You are ready to run 151 right now," which was what it would have taken. 151.99 ended up qualifying that year. Again, slower times than now, much slower.
Mhm.
But I went out and I ran 153.3.
How'd you feel running 153.3?
I started tying up 600 meters in.
Hmm.
All the way down the backstretch, I already knew
Yeah.
that the race was over. And I had just pressed too hard. I had raced the workout. I had let ego push myself forward. And like you said, I leaned into a good poppy feeling session that I didn't need to. Now, fast forward to probably the last stadium race I ever ran, Kirk. That was where I went out with Rich Ryan and some other guys and ran the Citi Field Stadium. And I don't know if you recall, but 3 days before the race, I decided to do a simulation workout. I called you when I was on the bike.
Yeah, I remember that.
I said, I think I'm going to go out and do this thing. And it was supposed to be 3,000 meters of work. And do you remember what I did?
Oh, didn't you end up going like a full 5K or something?
It was the opposite.
Hmm.
It was a 5K. I cut out at 3K. I just
Yeah, you were
stopped the
supposed to
workout.
do a 5K. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. I was supposed to do a 5K. I cut it at just under 3K because I learned what I needed to learn. I was feeling way too good. I was moving way quicker than I thought I would be. And I thought, shoot, pull the plug now.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone far enough into the workout to know you're fit, and you want to feel this in 3 days. Stop it right now. And as a result, I went out there and I felt really good. But it was the same kind of situation. But the second time I decided it's not worth it to use it now, because we do not know how many bullets are in the chamber. As much as we know ourselves, we never really know when it's going to click empty. And if you have one that's starting to fire off well, like, grab it, pull it back. It's not to be shot now. You don't want to fire this now. That's not when it's for.
Well, in the case, and that's a very good example. In the case in point with recent training for me is in a long build and longer race, actually any race, but let's just call it the marathon since it's my current pursuit. There's sort of this build, high intensity, high volume, overreaching phase. Then you sort of taper in. And in the build up to overreaching phase, it was like banging some really good workouts and feeling good doing it. And then there was like, I had like a 2 week, today's the first one I felt decent on again, 2 week down period where I was just repercussing from my excellent feeling myself workouts that I just like, if I had to race, there's not a chance. If the race was last weekend, I would have been screwed, unaccessible to me for sure. I'm telling you, good weather, bad weather, doesn't matter because I did too much of the thing that I'm trying to do in training.
Mhm.
And now that button needs time to stop being pushed for a little while before I can push it again. And I'm feeling it right now, which is where I want to be. But it is that back half kick in the butt, literally working marathon-esque work. I'm not ready right now to run my best marathon. I need 2 weeks for it to catch up to me. I can
Mhm.
tell you that verbatim, and it's exactly what you're outlining. And that's a good position to be in if you're 2 to 3 weeks out, like I am. Where it's
Yeah.
bad is when you're the one trying to make up for your shitty training by squeezing in last sessions within 10 days. You're going to show up worse off than if you didn't try to squeeze them in at all.
Yeah.
And that's the thing people miss. It's those who have spotty training and that suddenly get motivated within 7 to 14 days of their race to be really good and diligent now. You're the one who shows up more disappointed than anybody because it's gone, brother. Those matches were burned, and now you might be better 3-4 weeks from now for it, but right now you timed it perfectly incorrectly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things you see over and over and over again. Um, okay. Oh, I see you want to take it somewhere.
I was just going to pivot, which I think you were about to. We've
I was
spent a
about to
long
pivot.
time on this, but it's time to get to the race itself.
Well, let's get to race week itself first. What
Okay.
are the how not to screw it up race week? I think we start there real quick. And I think the main thing I want to say with that is staying away from intensity is not smart. You want to reduce down intensity and touch systems, touch pacing, touch turnover. But just as we've been outlining, back off. 2 or 3 days out from the race, I give myself a few days after that last quality. For example, if I'm typically doing 30 to 45 minutes of quality, it might be 10 to 15 on the week of the race.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of the other volume is reduced by 10 to 20%, but largely I'm scaling back that quality session in quotes and then reducing volume a little bit, just kind of across the board, skimming it off the top a little bit. How do you look at it?
I look at it the same way. And it's important to realize that scaling your reps back and lengthening the rest in between gives you, it's like a compounding effect. Doing 16 by 400 at 5K pace is hard. Doing 8 by 400 is 50% easier in theory, but it's not. It's like 60% easier because like 70% of how hard 16 by 400 is in the last 6 to 8 reps.
Yeah.
So you take those away and it just got easier. Now you lengthen the rest in between from 1 minute to 2 minutes. And now it's just gotten even easier. So keeping intensity does not mean compromising recovery if you change how it looks. You still have to do it in order to be sharp and ready on race day, but you don't have to do it in a way that hurts you. Like obviously 10 by 400 at mile pace with 90 seconds rest hurts more than 10 by 400 at mile pace with 1 hour rest, right? That's obvious, but cut it down to 10 minutes rest. It's still obvious. Cut it down to 3 minutes rest. It's not as obvious, but it's still way easier. Now you cut it down from 10 to 6, and now that's a really easy workout. But
Mm-hmm.
every single rep is quality. You're still sharp, but you haven't taken the recovery damage that doing all 10 at 90 seconds would give you. So it's compounding both ways. Going more with less rest is way harder, and going less with more rest is way easier on your body. But the skill aspect of it stays the same. So it's really good bang for your buck on race week to keep quality in and just make sure that you're not doing too much and that you're not taking short rest in between.
What I like about that is if you know you're setting up the session to be like approachable or manageable, I find the week of a race when I go into that session, I'm like, this isn't going to be very hard. This is going to be like no big deal. But you still feel it and it still
Yeah.
makes you like work a bit. And then I end up kind of feeling sluggish almost like my body isn't even entering race mode because I'm looking at this workout as kind of a joke, but it's reminding me like, hey, Kirk, like, no, like work is work, but I'm like not mentally engaged, which saves my mental engagement for when I need it in 3 days on the race. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying when I look at it that way? It's almost like, okay, easy week, quality session. I don't bring my best self mentally to the table because I don't feel like I need to. And like that matters too in a race week.
It does. I've talked about it before where I look at mental race prep like putting armor on before a battle. And it's dramatic, but it's true. On race day, things that hurt in training hurt you less. And I believe it's because you have your armor on. Yeah, there's some adrenaline, there are some chemicals pumping through, but also mentally, you have fortified yourself against what you know is coming. And in workout, if you put on that full armor each time, then you're practicing that process. But if you don't have it on, you suddenly realize that 80% of 5K pace is still very uncomfortable when
Right.
I'm not prepared for this to be uncomfortable. And it's a good little scared straight moment. And it makes you relax on race day when you do put that armor on, and suddenly it doesn't hurt the same way. I always feel terrible in tapering workouts.
Me
They're
too.
supposed to be easier. They don't affect me afterwards, but during I always feel sluggish or unfit because you don't have your
Same.
armor on.
Dude, same. I can't tell you the week of a race. I had one where I was like, I feel like the man today. But what
Yeah.
happens on race day? It's usually there anyways. Race week. This is my philosophy. There's going to be somebody who screams at their whatever headset at me. I don't care the race distance. I really don't. Somebody's for sure not going to like what I'm going to say after saying that. Don't change what you're eating. Don't change what you're doing. Just let the decrease in intensity and volume eat the same. Don't reduce calories or don't reduce intake. The reduction in training intensity and volume, even if it's only backing off 20%, you know what a 20% extra saturation of carbs and calories that your body hasn't used that it normally would does to you? Your glycogen stores are going to be topped off. You're going to be just fine. The last thing you need to do is the night before a race, go to a big Italian restaurant and shove your gut with breadsticks and fettuccine Alfredo and then sit there and have problems the next day or even feel sluggish because of it. Like, you do your normal thing. The deload in training volume will allow you to saturate calorically and carb up. So don't change any of that stuff. Don't think now it's the time to eat pizza when you never eat pizza because it's dense and going to be good for you for your race tomorrow. Don't change the thing.
No.
And we travel. We're at restaurants often before races. We're out of our normal home often. And then it's like, screw it. I'm there. Give me a hot dog and two things of fries because that'll carb me up. Like, what are you doing? Like, no. Anyways, that's my thought on food week of race.
Yeah.
Race.
I think that I'm going to make up a number. 95% of athletes will never have to worry about carb loading a day in their life. It is only the athletes who are preparing for a certain distance who go in intending to carb load from the start of their training block.
Correct.
That ever need to worry about carb loading. And I believe you must have done a carb loading test run in your training block before trying it on race day. Otherwise, you have to do a cautious carb load, which isn't a true carb load. And it's fine. People can play with that. But unless you have a plan written down someplace for carb loading, you should not worry about what you're eating on race week. Keep it normal. The only thing I worry about on my last, let's call it 36 hours prior to race day, is I go out of my way to avoid leafy greens. Now, anyone who knows me knows that's already laughable because I don't eat many of those, but that's usually on the menu when you're at a restaurant. There's a side salad. You eat something like, if I'm going to have a burrito or a fajita or something, it's going to come with more than veggies than I would normally put on it. And leafy greens are known to cause GI distress at times during a really intense workout the next day or a race. So the only thing I do on race week nutritionally that's any different is I take more electrolytes the day before, and I'm ensure that I have less leafy greens the day before. That is it.
I like it. I was watching Josh Kerr's channel on YouTube before he won his Grand Slam, the last Grand Slam meet. Not the one that happened this weekend, but like 4 weeks ago. And the guy was eating a salad with like his lunch and dinner. It was like not a big one. It wasn't the bulk of his meal, but it was a little side one. I made note. I was like, I don't think I would be doing that, but it's his system. Anyways, I just saw that.
1,500. What's going to go wrong?
That's fair. But you get.
I don't want to be 30 minutes in with bubble gut.
No. Okay. So does that cover it race week? I mean, really?
The last thing I think is you got to keep the race anxiety under control any way, shape, or form. And the easiest way for it to take control is to clear your schedule and put the race on the pedestal. You got to find busy work during race week or you're going to drive yourself crazy if you are the anxious type.
That's me. I got it. I'm working all the way up till I get in my car to leave to go to the race on Friday. midday. It's just got to be the way it is. If I'm not busy with my mind, you can leave your race and anxiety beforehand. The great Cody Moat,
Yeah.
which we've alluded to, who probably is still the most fit OCR athlete at his top end potential, would leave his race by laying awake in bed all night staring at the ceiling and so anxious for days. And it's a tough way to go. I mean, that's easy for us to say, like, hey, just chill. Like sometimes it feels uncontrollable, but it's true. Do you have that under wraps, your race anxiety these days?
I don't know. I haven't raced enough.
Yeah.
I think that I got to a point where I could control it to a level that was sustainable for me. I don't know if I was ever truly in control, but it was also part of why I did so many last minute races. How many times did I know that I was racing? It was bolded and highlighted on my schedule, but I didn't buy a ticket until Wednesday or Thursday because then it was too real.
Mm-hmm.
The later I let it go in the week, the less time there was. And then the whirlwind of packing and logistics took up my my bandwidth. My
Mm-hmm.
mind was on something else. So I don't know if you ever truly beat it, especially because you can regress later in your career for no discernible reason. Happens all the time with people. Suddenly race anxiety gets worse. So I had it. I was like a functioning anxietic.
Functioning anxietic.
Yes.
Look that up. It's what part of the reason, whether you love an athlete or you hate an athlete, you're indifferent about a professional athlete that we watch, what they go through on the professional circuits and scene between flights, time zone changes, food accessibility in foreign countries and all of that. And they go around on these huge stages in which their lives, careers, and paycheck and paying their mortgage, if they can even afford one, falls on how they perform. And they go and do it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, folks, are just like you and I inside their head. Runners are the most normal subset of human beings as far as like there's egos, but we're normal nerds, right? Even the best of the best. And so they struggle with all this, yet they continue to just show up and do it. And I always wonder how that plays into it for them. All right. Yeah.
I was going to reference a movie. Have you ever heard of Across the Tracks?
No.
All right. It is a middle distance running movie with Brad Pitt in it.
Oh gosh. Is that where he got his big break?
No, this is not Prefontaine, big break. But the fact that Brad Pitt was a miler in a movie and most of us don't know about it is astounding. It tells you how good the movie is. But there's one scene where they show him throwing up under the bleachers before the race. And then he stands up and he says something like, all right, let's do it to it. And like goes over and gets to work. And it was such a bad, cringy movie, but that always stuck with me for some reason, because I feel like that's how the pros are. They go through the travel and press conference and schedule equivalent of puking under the bleachers before an important race. And then they just kind of wipe their mouths and say, all right, let's do it. They just have the ability to snap into focus, to just lock in through jet lag, through time zones, through weird weather, through sponsor obligations. And then they show up and they run within tenths of what they always run. And they're in it with 400 meters to go. They just lock into go mode. And we could all learn from that, because what they do as pros who are sponsored and paid to come out is so much harder than our average race week and weekend. They're so out of their element and they still lock in and compete. And how many times do we see someone be like, well, I had a 4-hour drive and I didn't get great sleep and I couldn't find the coffee I wanted. It's like, yeah. And these guys do that 20 times a year and they run near the world record 19 of those times. They just haven't. I'm not saying their life's hard. It's different, but their race weeks are harder than our race weeks.
Yeah. And they might just be you'd never get numb to it, but maybe just repetitive exposure at their cadence and frequency is probably helpful. Like it's just another Saturday now. Like at some point when you start a new job, you get nervous for every presentation, but 20 years in, you're like, you have to hit snooze because you can't get out of bed, even though it's race morning, right? Like maybe there's some of that going on. Speaking of race morning, why don't we jump to that and then let's jump to the race. So race morning, what do you think? Any hot tips, tricks? The only thing I'm going to say is, don't let race nerves stop you from eating. If you can avoid it, stick to simple foods and carbs. For me, I don't need a lot of time between waking up and racing. Um, but really like trying to cram in the night before a race, sleep. If the whole week has not been great, I mean, sure, go ahead, make a valiant effort, but it's probably too late at that point. Sleep doesn't matter the night before a race. I've gotten 2 hours of sleep and I've still raced one of my best races to date in OCR.
Yep.
Not able to fall asleep and sit there. So that's usually done earlier in the day. You show up, it doesn't matter how you feel, what your internal dialogue is. Like you're up, you run through your routine, you show up at the start line and give your body the opportunity to do what it's supposed to do. Your feelings, physically or emotionally, do not matter that morning. It can be icky, it can be uncomfortable. You might not feel like you might be scared, but you just go, you put your damn shoes on, you brush your stupid teeth, you eat what you always eat, and you show up and go there, and you don't even think about it. It's what you do. That's all I want to say leading up to the race.
That's exactly it. Your feelings stop mattering when you leave for the trip, when you leave for the race. It doesn't matter anymore. We do not care how bad your day and night were the day before because they don't matter. It is proven to not matter unless it matters to you. Just like you, my single worst day of pre-race travel and sleep is the night before I won the most money I've ever won as an athlete. Just the way it works out. It was a super terrible day of travel across multiple time zones. I think I got into my hotel at 1:10 in the morning and I was up at 4:40 to eat breakfast, which means I got, like you, 2.5 hours of sleep, maybe after a terrible night. And it just, your body works if you allow it to. So once you leave the house, you just have to stay out of your own way. It just is what it is. This is the reality. We're just getting things done. That's it. If you can't eat, then drink. Blend your food. I used to travel with a magic bullet.
Because you didn't want to eat on race mornings, so you just
couldn't.
drink it.
I couldn't, but I could drink.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like the butterflies in the stomach, your stomach's in your throat. You feel like you literally can't get food down it because the nerves are like filling up your frickin'.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest feeling.
I would gag down 3 gulps of smoothie that had blended up power bars in it. Like just horrendously weird concoctions that were calorically dense. And I would gulp 3 gulps and then sit here and keep my dry heaving down, which wasn't going to be dry. And then I'd gulp 3 more. And then, all right, I've got 1,100 calories in me. Let's move on for the day.
What a privilege. It is so rare in life to feel things that intensely, at least for me, as like, as years have ticked by. There's only 2 things like in life that give me that feeling. And one of those 2 feelings is that morning, the race is approaching. I am getting ready. It's getting closer. I haven't started my warm up yet. And so I haven't been able to move energy. And you're just so full. It's like a beehive going off in your chest. You're like, what is this feeling? I never feel things that intense. It's such a privilege, and it's too bad it's so uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's like what it is.
I have to remind myself that I have to remind myself that this is why we do this. This is special. This reminds me that it matters as I'm sitting here trying to tell myself, just go home. Why do you even do this? No. This is why I do this.
I was looking at my heart rate. And this is also another thing. I had my Wahoo Ticker Fit armband on. I like it on my forearm, and I had started it and connected to my watch, but I'm just standing around before my last trail race in Zumbro. And my heart rate standing there was like 91. Like my heart rate is like in the upper 30s when I'm sleeping. And at rest, it's like 40 to 43 if I sit on the couch long enough without stimulants in me. And it's at 91, and I'm sitting there chatting with people. I'm like, talk about being jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
You may be on the bus ride over and your heart rate's like, you feel your pulse and it's like, do. And you're like, oh God, it's going to be a bad, like all that will go away. That won't affect your race. So point being is just don't let that psych you out beforehand. It's totally normal. You ever see like in track and field, and I know there's like warm-ups going, but they used to have, I haven't seen it as much recently, but they had the guys wearing the heart rate monitors for like the last 4-year cycle. And like your Nagoose would be at like 130 on the start line before they've even started the race. You're like, oh, these guys are human. That guy is shitting his pants inside. You don't know it, but they're all just like us. Just remember.
Yeah, they published Jakob's from his warm-up all the way through to the end of his Olympic 5K final. It was fascinating. You could see when they called him out onto the track, his heart rate spike did not look the way he looked on camera. It gets all of us, and we just have to remind ourselves that this just is what it is. Take care of business.
All right, so here we are. Runners, get ready. You're ready. You went to the bathroom. Things are good. Hopefully, if not, who cares? It doesn't matter at this point. If you got to pee yourself halfway through the race, that is what it is because the portal lines were too long. But the gun goes off. And the first thing, I even think this statement is true in the 5K or above, is you cannot bank time in any race.
No, you
Any
can't.
race that normal people are running, I don't know, maybe some of you are running miles occasionally and such. Maybe in the 5K, but I still don't think so. You can't bank time in your race. Being overzealous early could cost you seconds or minutes on the back half, depending on what race you're running. And so, chilling, controlling yourself early, allowing yourself to just ease into the race and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You will not get ahead of pacing early in the race. And
Yeah.
so many people are so out of touch that they do it every time.
Well, then it doesn't work that way. It's not even that we shouldn't, it's that it doesn't work.
Like physiologically doesn't work.
Physiologically, you cannot bank time in anything other than an ultra. And even
Explain
then,
that, actually. I know what you're going to
yeah.
say, and I agree, but explain that.
Well, if we were a machine that had a 15-minute 5K in us, that's 3 minutes per kilometer. If all that mattered was the total cumulative work and time, you could go out and run 2-minute kilometers for a while, and then 3 minutes, and then finish at 4 minutes and run 15 flat. Or you could run 3-3-3-3-3, or you could run 4-4-3-3-2, or whatever you wanted, but it would come out the same. But it doesn't work that way with human beings because we have fatigue in the system. And it only builds. And the earlier and harder you spike it, the more rapidly it builds later. It's an exponential curve. And you can't fight that. There's no toughness that stops that crashing of your energy and your oxygen levels and anything that matters with being a good runner. And so if 15 minutes is your limit, 255, maybe 250 is about as fast as you can go over that, but it doesn't mean that you can then click back to 3 minutes. It means something's going to come due eventually. And oftentimes those 5 to 10 seconds are 30 seconds later. You will just bleed out what you take early. People have tried it for years. The only time it works is when you were wrong about what your ceiling is.
Sure.
That's it. It doesn't work. Otherwise, people would do that.
But the explanation about the only time you can do that is in an ultra is, I would just like to outline, because you sort of touched on it but didn't say directly. You take enough structural damage, whether you're going slow or fast, structural damage eventually wins, and it's not aerobic or a metabolic ability that limits, it's literal structural damage. And so sometimes, like, you're gonna positive split this one no matter how it's run in general due to literal like breakdown of your structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can cover another mile in that hour and a half, steps are steps at some point, unfortunately, and they catch you. And that's what you were outlining in the ultra, I assume.
Yeah, you can bank time staying aerobic that will just put you ahead for when things go bad later.
Yep.
Going highly anaerobic is going to cost you enormously, but ultras are really the only time you can bank it. People constantly crack in every other race. So what you have to do is you have to have a plan, and you have to have a metric you're going off of that keeps you in check. Now, oftentimes that's heart rate or pace, and sometimes it's competitors around you. If you're running for the win, it's much different than running for your best. But if I sent you out for a 10-mile run and you thought I could hold 6-minute pace this entire time at best, 60 minutes is my best I could do, you wouldn't start out at 55-minute pace because we know what happens when you do that. You would try to get to 60-minute pace eventually and then maybe finish fast and get under that. This race has the same rules. You just don't feel the cost early because of all the crazy chemicals that are pumping. You still pay them later. It doesn't work. You can't do it.
Yeah, that's an actually interesting point, is don't be surprised when the gun goes off if you can't feel the pace. Like you can't even feel like how fast or slow you're running. It almost feels like it's free. And that feeling is dangerous because it isn't free. It's the weird surge of adrenaline mixed with like the novelty of the experience, and there's others around you. And so it feels costless at first. And then you look down, you'd be like, I'm 30 seconds a mile faster than I should be. But it's, if you let that ride itself out for minutes, even, it's already going to be costing you later. But that whole feeling early, it's like, God, you almost have to force yourself to settle in like instantly, even if it's in a longer race. It's like, no, chill.
Yeah.
Let your mind go numb. Don't overthink it. If you can latch on to somebody, even if they're going a little slower than you would like, great. Latch on to them and save yourself the mental strife of even making decisions. Just be like,
Yeah.
that's my decision right there for now. And when it really feels too easy to the point in which it's time, you can go. But like, ideally, it's almost a OCR is different and hybrid is different because you have to be very mentally engaged with specific tasks at hand. But I would say in trail racing and running, almost mentally disengaging for as long as possible before you need to mentally engage. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah. You
Is
have
how I like to
toughness
approach it.
credits, and you can't spend them early because then you're going to be defenseless later.
Yeah. And you'll see, don't get caught up. Remember in Grandma's half last year, which is just full of fast people, right? I think I was 71st overall or 67th overall, an hour 11, right? Like there's just people on all sides of you running fast. And the surges and people coming back within the first 3 miles of the race was asinine. It was like, where are you going right now? And like you're 2 miles in and this guy goes flying by you enough to make your shirt ruffle up. And you're like, what are you doing? And then you see him 6 miles later, literally with a side cramp, like looking like death. Or you see somebody that was way out front and then there's still, a handful of them are coming back. And the surges and the waste of energy is just like unbelievable in these
Hmm.
things. And you see it all around. And it's even worse further back in the field, I have to imagine. And so those surges and the things that people often get caught up in, you don't need to cover moves early. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
Cover them mid and late.
And we're not saying go slow. We're saying chill out, relax, hold back. You're holding back from overworking. You're not holding back from work. And that's
Right.
the key point here. The adrenaline at the beginning and the race and the horses around you charging out all are designed unintentionally to draw you out of your comfort zone. And early on you need to stay in that, but not like physically comfort, like pace comfort. You know roughly how you can race this. And so you need to stick to that. And that requires holding back early to stay on plan. We're not saying if you can run those 3-minute kilometers that you hold back to 3:20 early. We're saying you hold back to 3 or 2:58 or 3:05. You hold back to directly in range of the plan so that you can get to work later and try to exceed your plan. But we're not saying go slow. This is racing. We want to get the maximum out of our body, but the maximum out of your body comes from not tipping too early.
Stay relaxed, stay relaxed, stay relaxed. Relax doesn't mean easy. Relax means smooth.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but basically 1,500 meters on up, we can't come up with a single instance where people positive splitted their way to a world record.
Yeah.
There may have been a 10K in there, but the fact is, maximizing our fitness as humans has to happen through excitement. There has to be a goal that is just on the edge of attainable, and that elicits chemicals in our body. So the only way to get the max out of yourself is to have something that numbs how bad it is at the very end. And so you need to be accelerating towards a goal for that to happen. And that
Almost
doesn't
like,
happen when you're falling off pace.
and what else is there to say? I can't look back fondly on a race with like, yeah, I can't think of anything where I was going backwards through the field at some point,
Yeah.
right? Versus even if you erred too much on the side of caution, but you're moving positively through the field, you're playing Pac-Man or woman, and you're just progressing through the field once you get into the meat of the race. Like there is some, I don't know, there's got to be a chemical released when that happens of some variety as well. That
Mhm.
like you just can't replace like the inertia that sort of creates. The one thing I wanted to mention, and I know this is sort of elementary, but you always run in your Saucony Endorphin Pros and you get a brand new pair and saving them for race day, or they're handing out something that you've never eaten at an aid station or whatever it is. None of that on race day. I would prefer you wear your old broken in shoes that might have lost a little bit of their magic versus like a brand new pair you've never put your feet in. for the sake of having like a newly minted pair of shoes on your race day. So nothing new, point being, but we've said that so many times on the nutrition and gear front. It's just, that's not the time.
Yeah. I only have one argument to that, and that's super shoes.
Yeah. You have certain shoes that you feel like,
yeah, out of the box, most super shoes can be raced out of the box.
see, I even feel like both of them that I really enjoy, like there's a period for me with them.
There is. There is. And that I was going to say is that now you have to have done this out of the box before. But we talked about this a little while ago, that it might have been Albertson who raced Olympic trials in the Alpha Flies out of the box because he felt how special they could be. He didn't know what was going to happen 10 miles in, but it may not have been him, but someone raced in their Alpha Flies out of the box and had the race of their life. But if it's a known commodity, go for it, but only if it's super foam. If it's not super foam, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get lucky. Of course, we've all had a new pair of shoes and we put it on for the first time and we're like in love, but it's not guaranteed on race day. You don't know that. And the fallout of that is terrible. If I put on the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pros because everybody said it was the best shoe in the world, I would DNF.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm
saying?
Worthy. I'm not worthy. The other thing then is a common mistake. Oh my God. It's like beating my head against the wall with some of these people. And I know you'll agree. You know, I didn't feel like taking my nutrition, or I didn't want it, or I forgot. You forgot. You forgot. You forgot to take your intro race nutrition. You're telling me you forgot. That's all you have to worry about is running and fueling. That's it. Mm-hmm. Nothing else is on your plate right now. So no matter how you feel, you're not going to wanna. It's inconvenient. Biggest way, especially in a race that lasts, I'm going to say 75 minutes or more, 90 minutes for sure. If you are not rhythmically on time or ahead of schedule taking your nutrition, it will cost you the back third of the race. And that's, I think anything that I'm racing 60 minutes or more now is requiring fuel. And people just like, I'm breathing so hard, or I hate it, or it's so uncomfortable. It's easier not to. And it cost me 5 seconds that mile because I was futzing with my goo and then tucking it back in, or I stopped at an aid station to drink out of the Dixie cup so it didn't splash all over me. And it cost me 5 seconds. But you're going to make up that 5+ seconds on the back end. And so you just got to suck it up, Buttercup, and take it. I'm so sick of hearing people not eating or drinking out there because they forgot or they didn't want to, or their tummy didn't want it. Like, that will ruin your race. You have to. It doesn't matter how you feel. That's another one of those circumstances. I don't care how you feel about it.
You don't get to make decisions. You're not allowed to. You're not to be trusted.
Correct.
If your plan was to fuel for this road trip and it was inconvenient for your timetable, you cannot skip that gas station because you know what will happen. This is no different. It doesn't matter if it's inconvenient. It doesn't matter if your little tum-tum doesn't want it. If it's not an ultra, I say make yourself puke. Prove it. I really think I'm going to puke this up. Well, find out. Make it. Like, spite your stomach. Say, go ahead. I'm calling your bluff. You won't puke this up. You have to do it. You have to take it. And if you really think you're going to forget, set an interval timer on your watch. That's how I race. Every time it beeps, I take this. And if you can't futz with gels like myself or chews, you don't want your hands getting sticky and you don't know what, then get drinkable calories and carry a small bottle with you. Like, that's what must be done. This is not negotiable. If you're serious, then you have to do this.
I would imagine most listening to this podcast are serious. Gosh, I would hope so. Okay. So we have a cutoff here right about an hour and we're getting there. So is there anything, I mean, we could honestly just keep saying little things that matter.
Right.
Big level, anything else that jumps out at you before?
There are two things. I'm going to say them back to back. The first is that you must take your shoes, socks, and shoelaces through the conditions you will be facing in training. I'm you're tired of people not fueling. I'm tired of people getting to a race and be like, well, my shoelaces loosened up when I went through the water crossing. I just had someone I work with, and this is not calling them out because they fixed this. They did a big workout in their new shoes and their insole started bunching up on the descents. And you know what he did? He replaced those, and he just had a race this past weekend with steep descents, and it worked great. If he had, excuse me, getting all worked up here. If he hadn't have done that in training, it would have happened on race day. You have to stream cross if you're going to stream cross. You have to.
You have to
Second
sweat
thing,
in those shoes on a hot summer day and get them sopping wet of your own
yeah,
DNA to see what they do.
you have to. You have to take your feet through the conditions they will face, or you're asking for problem. And then the final thing is, every single race I've ever been in, I've gone in hyper aware of when that moment arrives to commit to a move or to make the move yourself. Hyper aware of it, because the worst feeling on earth is getting done with the race and having that nagging suspicion that I knew in that moment this was the make or break time. And I convinced myself that I should hold back for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment in every race where you know this is going to be that moment in hindsight. And you must hit the throttle or bite down on your mouth guard right then. And that's the signal that the holding back and trying to keep myself protected moment is done. And now it's time to trust my armor, bite down, and just take it. You must push that button when it arrives, or you will regret it all the way until your next race.
Take it or give it.
Or give it, either one. But that moment will be semi-obvious. You cannot hesitate.
That moment's always roughly between half and 3/4 of the way through.
Yep.
Usually. It's somewhere in there where that decision can be a little earlier than half sometimes in a unique circumstance, but it's somewhere after you're in it already, you're feeling it already. You're not very comfortable anymore. It's not even particularly enjoyable. In fact, it's downright unenjoyable. It's then.
If I don't PR, or if I don't podium, or if I don't win my age group, or if I don't hit my goal time, it's probably because of this moment.
Yeah.
You have to decide right there and do it.
I love that last piece of advice. All right. For the sake of time, I think we covered most of it, how not to screw up your race, and hopefully telling you how to. I guess we should probably save. I would love to do the polar opposite of this and almost look at the topics we just talked about through like the opposite lens.
Yeah.
Like speak through it through the lens of how to nail your race versus how not to screw it up. We'll think on that. Anything else? We got the running public training plans back up and running. Is that issue sorted out?
As far as we are aware, everything's functioning correctly. If you have signed up and do not have communication from us, please reach out. But as far as I'm aware, everything is working correctly now, which makes it a really good time to come out and get on that threshold / race specific stimulus training that we have kind of moved into. It's a slight pivot, but it's a really good advancement in the training. If you're on the fence, now's the time.
It's $19.99 a month. You blow more than that a month on crap you don't need. With that, have a great rest of your day, folks.
Have a good week.